Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Sam Tom here. Today we are talking about the Blair Witch Project. And this movie is a perfect example of why I always say that how people feel about a movie is, at least for me, can be very much affected by our expectations for that movie. That's why so often movies that people talk very highly of, I tend to not like as much, and and movies that people trash talk and say are horrible, sometimes I enjoy quite a bit. Um, I don't really want to get into examples, but I have other videos where I've talked about that, and sometimes that will not that alone, but that can be part of a reason why I might not go see a movie, even if everyone says it's great. I've never seen the first Avatar. I haven't seen the new Top Gun because so many people talk so highly about it. I need to give it time, and I need to let it die and be forgotten, and then maybe I'll check it out and I'll see what I think. But Blair Witch Project was 99, so I would have been 9 years old. So I don't remember super well, but of what I remember, the talk was that this movie was going to be terrifying, right? And also, the marketing played up the idea that it was true, not even based on a true story, but literally a true story. This movie really helped popularize and revitalize things like the found footage genre, which we're going to get into more in a couple days with Paranormal Activity. It's also a mockumentary, kind of. Um, but it's not, I feel like most of the popular mockumentaries are a humorous tone, but this one isn't. Um, and so you have all these ideas, and again, this is like before everyone was on the internet and before you could just look up anything at any time. So you have these ideas coming out that this was something that really happened. It's really scary. It's really terrifying. That's the word of mouth that goes into it. And then you watch it, and the big reaction to it is that nothing happens, right? Nothing happens. You don't ever see anything. And it's like, well, that's not scary because nothing happened, right? But that's only because of those expectations that you had. But if you somehow don't have those and you just watch this movie, in my opinion, and this is just an opinion, everyone feels differently, but I think it's very suspenseful and I think it's very scary. And the first time that I watched it, I don't remember when it was. I know I was a child or a teenager. Um, probably high school or before. Probably before high school. Anyway, I remember that last scene in particular when they're in the house and they're going down the stairs. I looked away, right? And I've mentioned this before in some of my other videos. After it finished, right, and I was looking away, and I didn't hear any kind of scream. I didn't hear any kind of whoosh effect. I didn't hear any audible clue that something popped on screen as a jump scare. So I rewound it and watched it again, and I was like, oh, nothing happened, right? And to me, what that meant was the movie didn't necessarily have the staying power as something that has big jump scares and facial distortion would, like I've talked about before. But I still think, for me, when you're watching the movie, the suspense still works. And as I was rewatching it this time, the suspense still worked for me. I wasn't physically scared for my own well-being in the moment, but I was feeling the suspense of the movie. So I think if you just take it on the movie, again, everyone's different, but for me, it still works as a suspenseful movie, even though I know nothing's going to pop up on screen. So, a very strange, divisive movie, fueled a lot by, is it good marketing or not? It's not true marketing, and often I get upset when marketing lies to you about what's in the movie, but if it's lying to you to help you get in the right space for the movie, I don't think that upsets me as much. So the fact that they say it's based on a true story, I don't think bothers me as much. At the end credits, it says that it's not, right? So it's not like they were 100% deceptive. I don't know. I don't fully know how I feel because I don't remember the actual lead up to this. I just kind of have memories of learning about it after the fact. So it's hard for me to say exactly how I feel about it. But let's get into my notes. To me, the whole setup of this seems very believable. The setup of these people are going to go out in the woods. They got this equipment and these fake interviews that they're doing. To me, they feel like they very easily could have been genuine interviews. And I think I read in the trivia, unless I misunderstood it, that the 3 principal actors in this movie knew that the story of the Blair Witch was... How did they put it? Okay, so in the story of the Blair Witch was just written by these screenwriters, right? But the 3 actors thought that it was a real urban legend, a real myth. They just didn't believe that it was true. But I believe that they were told that the people that they were interviewing were real people from this area that really believed in the myth, but they weren't. They were just actors. And so I don't know if that helps play into, again, to me, and you can disagree with me, to me, it feels like a very genuine interview. It feels like real people, the way they would really talk in something like this low-budget documentary. So I get very pulled in at the beginning of this movie into the believability of this world, even though I know it's not real. I don't understand my notes. Lights off and quiet. So I watched part of this movie in my van in between door dashing sessions, and then I watched the rest of it here in my living room, but during the daytime, while there were ambient lights around and there were noises happening. And I didn't do it intentionally, that's just when I had the time. But this, I think, is a very good example of a movie where it really works best if you're watching it at night, if the lights are off, and if there's not a lot of sound going on. Because a lot of the footage is very, very dark. A lot of it's black and white, right? So if you really want to get the feel that they're going for, you can't have a bunch of light around. And if the room you're in is dark, this TV screen just kind of blends in and you're much more in the environment. And then also so much of this movie is just weird sounds that aren't indistinct sounds. And so where you are is quiet and you can hear those better, then again, you're going to get more pulled in. So I didn't get the best experience of this. And some horror movies, I don't think that's important. You know, everyone always says, like, oh, do you watch it with the lights on or off? And it's like, there's an element of that in a lot of them. But I think this one, it's almost more important than most other horror movies, how you watch it in terms of how it affects you while you're watching it. Not screaming their brains out. So this is something I complain about with so many movies, is that when something scary happens, some character will just scream their absolute guts out for extended periods of time. And I always say, I don't think that's how people would act. In this movie, when scary things happen to them, their tent getting attacked or whatever, there might be an initial scream or yell or something like that, but then it's just like a lot of fast, shallow breaths. And I'm like, yeah, that's how people would act. They wouldn't just be screaming their absolute guts out. So again, to me, that pulls me more into the movie, that makes it more believable to me as a realistic situation, because they're acting like people would act. And apparently, again, I don't know how much of IMDb trivia is true, but apparently they were not told that their tents were they were actually in the, sleeping in the tents in the woods during it was like 8 days of shooting, and there was one day where stuff got messed up, so they went to a hotel. But like for the most part, they were actually out in those woods, and like they were instructed to always stay in character, and they had like something like 22 hours of footage, I think, on their cameras that they edited down to an hour and a half long movie. But they were like really out there, really dealing with each other, really getting lost and having to have the crew come find them. And so they had the basic plot points written out, but like most of the dialogue was improvised, most of the acting was improvised, and like in the movie, what are their names? I didn't write down their names. There's 3 of them, and the girl and one of the guys are the people that are like the most antagonistic towards each other in the movie, but apparently in real life it was the girl and the other guy, which is not how the story was supposed to go, so they really had to edit around that. But they knew some of the basic ideas of where to go and what to do and what was going to happen, but they did not know that their tent was going to get messed up. So apparently some of those reactions are fairly genuine. And it's, I wouldn't think it'd be 100% genuine, because even if you're not expecting that, the situation you're in, but like, if you're asleep and something unexpected happens, that there's going to be quite a bit of genuine fear there. And I think they said like things like the stacks of rocks they weren't aware about. The crew actually went and did that while they were sleeping. So yeah, I think all of that really helps to make it seem believable to me. Maybe I'm a sucker. Maybe everyone else is like, no, it's totally fake. I can totally tell. Doesn't even seem real at all. Hey, good for you. I'm sorry you didn't enjoy the movie as much as I do. She has a line where she's narrating towards the end. It's where this image comes from, which, again, apparently was an accident that it was that close up. She just messed up how she messed the camera. But she's, like, leaving a message to their families. And she says, I'm scared to close my eyes, but scared to open them. And, like, that line must have been scripted. If she improvised that line, that's a great line. Because, like, when you're really, really scared, especially of something supernatural, right? Not like, I don't know, a spider or a mouse, which I'm also very scared of. But, like, when you're really, really, like, scared to your core for your very existence, that is dead on, at least for me, right? Because it's like, if I close my eyes, then if something's there, I won't see it, right? So I don't want to open my eyes because I'm too scared. But if I close my eyes, then I won't know if anything's there or not. So I don't want to close my eyes because I'm too scared. So I was like, too scared to close my eyes, too scared to open them. That's being scared, man. That's like a real, real deep kind of scared. I was like, man, what a great line. And then my last note is just, what have we said about going into strangers' houses? It happened in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It happened in Children of the Corn. And it happens again here. Granted, I think it seems pretty obvious, even more so than the other two, that no one actually lives there because there's just the forest growing out of it. But still, just don't go into people's houses. So those are all my notes. I didn't write a lot. Like I said, I watched this in multiple sessions in multiple locations, so I had limited notes. But I'm curious as to how people of a younger generation than me would see this. People that weren't around when it came out. It didn't get like swept up in the hype. Because again, I don't think I saw it right when it came out. And I don't remember everything about the marketing, but like I was aware of it, if nothing else. And then I was aware of the reaction and the backlash to it and how disappointed people were. And I try to distance myself from that, but it's still there, right? So I'd be very curious as to how a younger person that wasn't around back then, that just wasn't born then. I don't know why I said that in such a strange way. I'd be curious as to how younger people would see this movie. To me, it's still very effective as something that's suspenseful, as something that sucks you into the story, and like, I'm telling you, a lot of these, Children of the Corn is the big one, but like right now, it's October, and I'm door dashing most nights where it's very, very dark and I have a lot of cornfields around me. And these kind of movies, Obviously, I'm not so scared that I'm not going out and doing it, but I'm keeping my eyes open and I'm paying attention to if I'm leaving my van door open and I'm checking the back of my van when I get back in it after I deliver. They're in my head. They're not debilitating. Debilitating. Is that the word I want? They're not keeping me from doing the things I need to do, but they're living in my head. So yeah, it's been a long time since I watched this movie. I think I enjoyed it more the second time around because I'd only seen it once before. I think I enjoyed it more the second time around than I expected to, which is probably because the first time my expectations were pretty high. And then I've had this in my head for so long that this is a disappointing movie that now my expectations were low, and now I'm like it was pretty good. I liked it. So those are my thoughts on the Blair Witch Project. Let me know your thoughts, or if there's any other movie that like you were so excited for because of what people were saying. We're gonna get into this again when I get to Paranormal Activity, which is coming up in a couple days. But any other movies that you were super hyped for because of the marketing and it just totally let you down or anything like that, let me know what kind of movies you've got strange relationships with because of things outside of the movie. But that's going to do it for me today. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good day.